Good evening, everybody. You have reached the No Name Cinema Society. It is Thursday, August 30th, 2018. You have reached our classic film discussion. And tonight we're going to talk about The Sixth Sense from 1999. Hi, everybody. My name is Jonathan Betzler. I'm one of your hosts here this evening. I'm back home here in Los Angeles, California. I got Bogey with me this evening. He's going to be representing. And I've got some other co-hosts that I'd like to jump right in and introduce to you. First, a child psychologist whose wife ignores him. Drunk Davey is back with us.
How you doing?
Our other co-host is a young man who sees dead people. Back from Brazil, Otavio!
The country of the dead. So I'm here to tell you how everyone here in Brazil is dead.
There you go, and you would see them, therefore. So that works out. Otavio, you drinking with me, or am I alone tonight?
No, I'm not drinking tonight. So, but you can knock yourself out.
Oh, I might just knock myself out. And for what it's worth, Otavio does drink, yes. Ladies and gentlemen. We've tied one on when he's in LA from time to time. But tonight I've got new Fat Tire from New Belgium Brewery. Have you ever had this?
No, we don't have those here in Brazil. Never heard of it.
We've been in LA. Davey has not been in LA, but you've had this beer.
I've been to the brewery.
He always has to take me up one notch, ladies and gentlemen.
Exactly. Yeah.
I've been to the brewery.
He drank it with the owner of the brewery.
I bought the brewery last week. So the classic film discussion is a part of a set of episodes we do. We always do a current feature, an indie, a classic, and a freeform segment. And here is the schedule. This is our 51st section of episodes. It started last Thursday, August 23rd, with a discussion of the movie Alpha, the new release. And just the other day, Monday, August 27th, we discussed the Indie Spotlight In a World film from 2013. And today, of course, we're doing The Sixth Sense on September 3rd. It will be our 35th sound off. I'm going to do a top 5 child performances based on our discussion of this movie, The Sixth Sense. Now, the trivia that we did in the last classic for this episode is the surprise hit of 1999 got 6 Oscar nominations but 0 wins. And of course, that is The Sixth Sense. It was released in late August 1999, 19 years ago this month. And it's generally a place where you dump movies for which you have low expectations. Not only did The Sixth Sense shock the world with 5 straight weeks at number 1 at the box office, it was one of the most buzzed about movies of the year, which was probably the best year in movies in recent memory, possibly in my lifetime. It surprised again when it got the aforementioned 6 Oscar nominations, including Best Picture, Best Director, Best Supporting Actor, and Best Supporting Actress. And to be cited as one of the best 5 films in a year that included Being John Malkovich, Magnolia, The Matrix, Fight Club, Election, Three Kings, and The Talented Mr. Ripley, to be considered one of the best 5 in that bunch is quite a feat. We'll discuss later whether or not we thought it deserved that. Guys, I'm about ready for the summary. I'm barreling right through. You guys okay?
I'm fine.
The Sixth Sense. Child psychologist Dr. Malcolm Crowe is assigned the strange case of trouble boy Cole Sear, whose issues remind him of a patient from years ago that he couldn't help. Crowe is determined to get to the bottom of Cole's problems, but gets more than he bargained for when he realizes that Cole's issues might be paranormal. As it turns out, Cole sees dead people. Guys, how was that summary?
It was good. It was good.
It was okay. Otavio? Notes?
Yeah, quite interesting. I think that this is the kind of movie that it's hard to write a, how do you call it, the overview without spoiling it, you know? So you need to tell as little as possible.
That's a great segue because I am going to make an announcement now. This is a 19-year-old movie, and this is a classic movie discussion, and we've always said from the beginning of the show, we won't spoil the currents, but we'll spoil the classics. So I think we can feel free to talk about this movie with spoiler alerts. So anyone that has not seen the movie, that does not want anything spoiled, maybe you want to go back and watch it and take a look. With that, we're going to go straight to opening thoughts. A phrase or a sentence. Otavio, you've done it before. What's your opening thought, sir?
I think that I really remember this movie because it taught me the concept of a spoiler. It was the first movie, I guess, I've ever saw that could be spoiled.
As opening thoughts go, it's kind of vague because I still don't know how he feels about the movie, but I guess we'll open that can of worms later. Davey, what do you think?
It's definitely a movie that forces me to confront how important rewatchability is.
Also kind of a vague, less vague, but still kind of a vague movie. Now, and where would that fit on the Davy scale?
It's a good movie. It's a good movie.
Okay, all right. So that helps me out a little bit. Every year, right before I leave for the holidays, we have a screening. It seems to be every year on December 23rd. And this was our December 23rd, 2016 screening. And the audience was somewhat entertained, but felt maybe fairly mediocre in the film. In terms of my opening thoughts, I would say that it's a unique case of a film that vacillates between brilliant and incredibly stupid. And so moving on to the discussion, the actual discussion, I like to usually start with the positives. But every section, whether it be direction, performances, screenplay, craft, whatever, every section has so many pluses and minuses. This is great, but I honestly could say the same thing about Unbreakable and Signs, the whole oeuvre of M. Night Shyamalan. In thinking hard of what's best in The Sixth Sense, thinking about direction, at its high points, it's the direction. And I would say the thing that The Sixth Sense does best, it's going to be a tongue twister all night, the thing that The Sixth Sense does best is tone. I think it's actually a masterpiece of tone, consistently moody and creepy, evocatively so. All the design elements seem to work in concert to this end. Even the exterior shots of Philadelphia feel stark, cold, and unsettling. And I think the pace is a sort of Proustian pace adds to this spirit as well. Tavia, what do you think about the tone and mood of the film?
This is the part that I really liked the most. I think it was one of the movies that really got me scared, going back home and afraid of turning off the lights. So it's been a while. I mean, since The Exorcist, I guess, I haven't really felt moved by a horror movie. It's not really a horror movie, I guess, but it moved me in a way that I haven't seen in several years, which when I was a kid, this was really important, to feel really scared about a movie. And I remember the thing that I remember the most is the little kid's acting. I think that kid scared me like hell.
And I do want to ask Davey about that because we argue about horror movies all the time. Is it a horror movie, Davey?
Of course. Yeah.
Tavio said it. I'm not sure I would have thought that.
Anything that you like is not a horror movie.
I don't really like this movie.
Or anything,
I mean,
put it this way, anything you can watch. We had the same conversation about Jaws.
Jaws, I can see, I can understand the argument that it's a horror movie. I don't find this movie scary at all, but Tavio does. So
not all horror movies are scary. It's a ghost movie, right? So
is the Ghost and Mrs. Muir. I mean, so's Ghost. Would you call Ghost with Whoopi Goldberg and Patrick Swayze a horror movie?
It's not designed to, make you uneasy in any way. So, yeah.
I totally disagree with you, JB. This is a scary movie.
I was not scared. Not the first time, not this time.
There's even a jump scare in this movie.
There are few jump scares in the movie.
I was more scared by Signs. Any tone, Davey?
There's definitely a creepiness to it, but it's light in a sense that it just flies by. It's a fast pace.
Actually, I don't think it's fast paced. I think it's actually very methodically paced, which serves the tone.
It feels like it flies by.
I feel like it's tight. There's nothing extraneous, if that's what you mean.
Yeah. Okay.
Like moving methodically and dragging are different things. I don't think it drags. I just think it moves at its own careful, methodical pace.
It's sort of unfolding. There are more clues, and they're pretty consistent, and they're all pretty creepy though. I think it's a pretty creepy tone throughout the whole film.
I said that much. Do you? What are the jump scares that you were talking about?
Oh, when she turns around and she screams and all the drawers and cupboards are open.
It doesn't scary. Is that supposed to be?
There's one scene where the kid hides in a tent.
And Misha Barton.
And she pukes. That part is really scary.
Why am I not scared by this? Well, I don't know.
I really believe in spirits. This is something that I'm truly afraid of. To me, that is a real possibility.
Some other good-ish things about the movie from the directorial point of view is shot choices and staging. I think they have some moments of brilliance from this point of view. I think about the kitchen scene, which is between Toni Collette as the mom and Haley Joel Osment as Cole, and the camera moves slowly in while panning back and forth between mother and son. I've never actually seen that before. It's on brand as far as this movie is concerned and is motivated by their connection that's starting to tear a little bit. It's a one-shot deal and it goes back and forth in slow pans, but also while dialing in and getting closer to the subjects. I think it's a brilliant shot. And I also like the shot of the father watching the tape at the funeral that was given to him by Cole. I guess you could ask the question of why is this little girl taping it at all? And if she did it because she knew what was going on, why didn't she stop it before her actual death? But that's a side complaint. From a shot point of view, the whole funeral sequence, I think, is strong in terms of blocking. But the staging and shot choices wherever Bruce Willis was with another actor, aside from Cole, are sloppy, and it telegraphed the big surprise that was supposed to happen. Now, here's my reveal to you guys. I knew that there was a surprise. I didn't know what it was. And during the movie, seeing it the first time in the theater, I thought to myself, well, they're making it seem like he's a ghost, but that can't possibly be the surprise because it was so poorly done. Why is she not talking to him anymore? She's in the same room. Like, it's so weird. The dinner scene, it was so poorly done and didn't need to be. I saw it right away, and I thought to myself, this cannot be the secret everybody's talking about. He needed to limit those wides in those scenes, and he can show us anything. He's got complete control. Why is he showing us too much? He's almost cocky in the sense that he's assuming the audience was stupid. And I guess much of them were. I think it was really sloppy from that point of view. And it's weird to have both of those, like those great shots that I was talking about, and that really sloppy blocking for this gimmicky thing that he has going on with the Bruce Willis character. So, Davey, you can disagree first.
I want to disagree just because I generally don't like agreeing with you. But you're not wrong. Looking at it, knowing the ending, it does look pretty obvious, but maybe that's just kind of proof that he did a good job, and he didn't cheat. At least he didn't make it so that you couldn't figure it out, or it wouldn't work when you go back and look at it.
Mm-hmm. Upon rewatchability, yeah, but I mean, at the same time, there's a difference between cheating and like, I just felt like he was making something so blatantly obvious. Like, I almost felt like he needed to separate. I don't know. Like, I think he didn't need to have Bruce Willis in any scenes with Toni Collette. He didn't need to have her in any scenes with the wife if he didn't need to. You know what I mean? Like, he could have just avoided it altogether.
He was worried about people going back and picking it apart. There's nothing cheap about it. I mean, you can say that it's a little too obvious, but I think that's the better mistake to make than to go on the other side and make it unfair.
I'm not suggesting making it unfair. I'm suggesting withdrawing from those scenes if it's not working completely, because I actually don't know how necessary they were. Tavio, you sound like you're going to disagree.
I will disagree, because I think we must remember when this movie was launched, M. Night Shyamalan wasn't really known, at least here in Brazil. We didn't know his reputation about movies with a huge plot twist at the end. I went to watch this movie knowing absolutely nothing about it. That's why for several years, I didn't like the movie, because I rewatched it and I said, oh, this was too obvious. But when I watched it for the first time, I didn't find it so obvious, because I had so many other things in my mind. When I got the revelation, I felt really surprised. And that moment was priceless. And I think that's why I never really liked the other movies, because I went into the other movies knowing that at some point the movie was going to try to surprise me. And when it didn't, like the movie about the plants that try to kill people, do you remember that one?
Nope. I gave up on M. Night Shyamalan pretty much after Signs.
Well, his last two movies have been pretty good, actually.
Yeah, man, I don't know. But this one about the plants that were trying to kill people, it had no plot twist. And then you felt like, well, there's something missing here. So I think that when I first saw it, I felt really surprised. And I think that the scenes that you mentioned with his wife actually adds to the tone, which I really liked about the movie. I felt that those scenes, they weren't really to tell about the mystery, but to add a tone of sadness to it. I felt really sad about those scenes.
I feel like they were done in such a way that they were disingenuous. Like, I did not believe that she was just ignoring him in this way. Like, it didn't make it felt awkward. I'm like, that's weird. It's almost like he's not even there. I mean, and I even thought to myself, gosh, it's almost like he's dead. And then I'm like, well, that can't be the plot twist. That's too obvious. And then it was, and it's like, oh. So I was disappointed in that regard. I did figure it out, and so that took away some of the experience in the movie. And how good is a movie if it requires something gimmicky like that? It's sort of hollow. Davey, anything else before I move on? I mentioned like some good shots. I don't know if you guys have some good shot choices in terms of Shyamalan that you'd like to bring up.
The scene in the kitchen, it works. Some of the scanning kind of made me feel like maybe it was and it might have been something that he was going for. It kind of felt like when they before they had widescreen, they put a movie on the TV and they need to kind of like move the framing.
Yeah, but I don't think that was the case here. I think that was an in-camera choice.
Oh no, it definitely. We were watching it in widescreen. I just wonder if that was maybe part of the feel he was looking for to kind of make it claustrophobic.
I think in the scene they were not connecting mother and son. Their bond was sort of being severed. So I think that was the idea, to sort of suggest some rockiness in their connection. Ottavio, any shots you liked?
I don't think that I can really analyze a movie in that sense. I do remember liking those scenes, the separation between husband and wife, mother and son. I think that when I saw that movie, I was in a complicated moment in my life when I saw people being ignored like ghosts inside my own house. So that kind of stuff really resonated with me, and it seemed more real than a ghost.
Yeah, it's the story of Davy's life, really.
Well, it does kind of capture that feeling, doesn't it? Like when there's bad feelings in the house, and people are being cold to each other. I mean, it definitely has that. He does capture that very well.
Except it doesn't feel real. Like, and we're never given a reason why that it might be the case. So it just feels awkward and disingenuous.
Because he's keeping secrets from his mom, and she resents it.
I thought you were talking about the husband and the wife.
Oh, no,
Olivia Williams. I agree with you about the mom and son. The other thing about Shyamalan is performances, and there are two performances that were Oscar nominated in this movie, but with those exceptions, for the most part, the rest of the performances are pretty stiff. And I actually know two actors that have worked with M. Night Shyamalan. In the movie that he made before this called Wide Awake, he worked with Joseph Cross, who is one of the leads in my film Homecoming. And another actor in Homecoming plays a doctor, plays Stuttering Stanley, the teacher, in this movie. And they both told me stories about how strict M. Night Shyamalan is on set and how he gives line readings. Do you guys know what line readings are? It's basically where you tell the actor exactly how to say the line. You're telling them, repeat after me, and give them the exact way and intonation you want the line read. It's très gauche. It is not really done by professional people. It's something that comes up maybe on student films now and then, very sloppy stuff. And it's basically you're telling a trained actor to parrot you, which is offensive to most actors. With kid actors, maybe it's one thing. And I do think Haley Joel Osment, to Ottavio's point, is pretty good. His fear resonates. He's very believable, and it's pretty remarkable given his age. And that's one of the reasons why we're doing top 5 child performances on the next. Davey, anything on performances or Haley Joel?
I didn't have a problem with that. I thought it's probably for Bruce Willis. I think it's as good as I've ever seen him. So that may be Pulp Fiction. I thought the stuttering teacher was good as well. So
yeah, Bruce Norris is an awesome actor. I can vouch for that 1,000 times over. But Bruce Willis, I think, is weak. I'm going to disagree with you on Bruce Willis. He's muted, thankfully, so he's not as a detriment to this movie as he is to other movies. But he's completely hollow. There is like nothing going on, and he is a puppet for Shyamalan in this case. He's never as good as he was in something like Moonlighting or Die Hard. That was Bruce Willis at his finest. In this movie, I feel like he is not good, but thankfully not in the way.
I think Die Hard it's cool. I like it a lot, but it's also kind of shticky.
But there's some skill to that, and he does it well. So, I mean, if you want to talk about Bruce Willis at his best, that's what I think it is. I think there's definitely a lot of skill in his work on Moonlighting. There's a lot of improv that he does there. He was given free reins on that kind of thing. By this point, in 1999, he's almost a caricature of himself. Ottavio, where are you on performances? Bruce, I know you liked Haley.
I really like the kid, but on Bruce Willis, the last time I saw that guy was probably on Die Hard. And then on this movie, he talks really slow. And that was really a change for me. And I think that it got even worse in Unbreakable. In Unbreakable, it got to my nerves of how he was, slow. I didn't know it maybe was a thing with the director.
It's like it doesn't come from a character thing. It's just like Bruce Willis thinking that maybe if he slows things down, people think he's deeper. Like, I don't know. Like it just feels like forced.
He kind of develops a father figure relationship with the kid. When you see the ending of it, it makes a lot more sense. The kid is really scared that he's seen someone who died, but then he slowly learns how to develop a relationship with that guy and to actually learn something from him and to feel a little bit comfortable with him. So that's something that resonated with me a little bit.
The script calls for that. I see that in the script, that bonding father-son situation, but I never feel it, especially from Bruce's end. Like, I never feel any sort of connection or warmth or caring. Like, I just feel like there's a guy saying lines slowly.
Exactly. At that point, I think that I was having a very big struggle trying to connect with my own father. In watching the movie where the kid develops a relationship like that with probably the thing that he fears the most, and it is kind of believable, at least I think.
All my complaints about performance, I'm kind of putting on Shyamalan here. Partially is that knowing what I know, but also it's so across the board for the most part. And Hitchcock did this too, in fairness. He was very domineering over his actors, and he did treat them like puppets. Shyamalan claimed Hitchcock is an influence. So maybe that is not just on the screen, it's on the set as well. In Shyamalan's case, they feel less alive, these characters. I think Olivia Williams is the case as well. She might as well be a robot. And then, of course, there's the case of Donnie Wahlberg. And that's a character that needed to make an immediate visceral impact if he was going to be in the movie at all, which I don't think he should be, and that's the screenplay thing. We needed to understand him with limited screen time. His situation in Psychosis felt so undefined, which puts Donnie in a bad spot. He's just playing crazy, boilerplate crazy, and that didn't work for me. Lifetime movie kind of crazy. So that is not good enough, especially if we want to believe it. And it's the primal scene in the movie, and therefore it needed to be more believable.
I thought that scene was set up as much as it needed to be. He's a psychiatrist or at least a psychologist. I don't remember. And you know that, you can put it together pretty easily.
That's not the point. I mean, I understand that all the pieces are there. I understand all the logic that went into it. I'm saying you don't feel it. There's no, I understand what was intended, but I'm saying it fails to deliver that on a visceral, emotional level. I don't buy Donnie Wahlberg. I don't believe him as a troubled boy just because he's standing naked in a bathroom.
That's all I need, honestly. That's plenty for me. I bought it right then and there. I'm I see the guy naked. I'm in. I'm this guy's got a screw.
I can take out that clip which says, I see a guy naked and I'm in. So I can use that.
That's all I need.
That's all I need. So I can pull that clip out, put it on a loop.
I must agree with Dave here. The start of the movie, it's so strange and so fast. I don't know if I could ask for more in so little minutage.
I think you're missing the point. I don't want more. I want better within that time period. There are plenty of other actors and writers that could have delivered the goods in the time allotted. I'm not asking for more time. I'm asking for better used time.
No, I get it. I'm with Davey. Naked guy in my bathroom with a gun. That's all I need.
He didn't have a gun at first. He sort of produced it randomly. That was weird blocking as well.
That part was weird. That indeed was weird, especially because the first time I saw it, I took quite a while to understand that if what we were seeing after that scene was a flashback or not. Because it felt so out of place. This is something that really bothered me about the movie. I didn't understand what was going on so much that the movie itself felt weird. Okay, he died. And then to me, it was okay, go backwards a month or a year before, and we're going to understand how things got to that point. So this is something that I felt that was a little bit sloppy.
Well, leaving that ambiguous was part of the misdirection.
Probably
keep you off.
Well, I've got a different idea that I'll pitch to you guys shortly as we use the screenplay. And just like everything else, there's some great things about it, and then there's the but, for me anyway. I think structurally it's perfect. In terms of the normal, what you're taught, 3-act structure, it hits every point. But so much so that it doesn't feel alive. It's almost has a paint-by-numbers quality to it that makes it dull and uninspired story-wise. The rigidity is a barrier to emotional impact. We never feel like, or at least I don't feel like they're real people, just pawns in another Shyamalan story. The 3-act structure and plot points are there to be a roadmap to screenplay writing. Your job as this writer is to hide those beats in character development so we don't feel them. We don't recognize them. We don't feel the twist coming. We just want to feel engaged in a part of the world. The reveal of that he sees dead people, that line happens exactly at the midpoint of the movie. It's so mathematical, it doesn't feel right. But I appreciate adherence to structure, but there needed to be some deviation too along the way in order to feel like these are actual people instead of just caricatures Ottavio.
That point, I had so very little understanding of screenwriting structure that to me it felt like a well-paced movie. And I think now I can see it, and that's why I think it doesn't age so well. I think maybe it's a movie, like David was saying, rewatchability. I didn't like the movie as much as I did in the first time I saw it. The first time I saw it, I really liked it.
Okay, so that's the first time I've heard that tonight. It's interesting. Davey, what about you about the structure issue?
It doesn't bother me. When you have a movie that's so predicated on the twist, once you know the twist, I don't know that it's fair to the movie to hold it against it on the rewatch.
Psycho still holds up, doesn't it?
And Fight Club.
Agreed there. Fight Club same year, not nominated for Best Picture, but The Sixth Sense was. Just saying.
Fight Club's a better film, certainly, but I think that the twist is more integral to the plot of The Sixth Sense than Fight Club. Although I think it's really.
I agree, but that's a failure because that makes it a gimmick situation.
I don't know that's.
You're predicated on a gimmick, is what you're saying. Like this movie is relying on a gimmick for its success. That's a hollow victory.
I mean, I think that's a conclusory statement. You're certainly welcome to that opinion. I'm not sure I agree. It's all about the effect that it has on you the first time.
Quite frankly, the twist did not work on me the first time.
Then this is just
worse the second time.
Miss for you, then, I think.
Exactly.
That's it. That's all there is.
And that's all there is your point. That's so thin.
Not if it worked. If it worked the first time, then it is
amazing. If it works. It failed on you. I can sense that you have a strong opinion, a very strong opinion on this movie, basically because it didn't work with you the first time. Because even though I watched this movie today and I don't think it's that good, I still have the memory of when it did work. And I was in the movie theater with my mouth open. And the last time that happened was with Run, the movie about the movie about racism, with the black guy with a white girlfriend. Get Out.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of like that. It is rare for me to get into that situation when a story completely goes the other way that I was expecting. It didn't work with you, but it did work with a lot of people. And that I do agree that it's a cheap gimmick and that this guy tried to use it again and again in other movies. When he did it in Sixth Sense, it was the first time. And it was an awesome moment, at least for the people who the gimmick worked with.
That feels so wrong to me. But the other issue I have with it is the wholeness of world, I think, is off as well. I mean, this whole idea of the ghosts not knowing they're ghosts, I'm not sure that idea works. If that were the case, why are they turning the temperature down whenever they enter a room? These things don't seem to mix together. I feel like he has germs of ideas that don't mesh, that aren't fully explored. And all of this is in service of this gimmicky twist that they telegraphed throughout the movie. He's got these various ideas of ghosts and tries to put them together, and they don't quite gel with each other under closer examination. I guess what I'm hearing over and over again is this is a movie that we shouldn't bother examining too closely.
No, not really.
I don't think so at all. I think that a surprise ending only works one time.
Again, Psycho, Fight Club, they have surprise endings. They still work. You said yourself, this movie, that's all there is.
But I don't think that that's a miss or a fail. I think that he built the movie to service the ending.
I don't necessarily think that's true. I think that he had a movie and he felt like, he needed to force. I think it's a forced twist, personally. And here's my pitch to you guys. I actually, story-wise, am more interested in the scenes with Cole and his mom. I feel like the movie would have been a whole lot better if we were about Cole coming to terms with his gift, dealing with his mother, and learning about helping ghosts as needed. You can cut Bruce Willis out completely, his character of Dr. Malcolm Crowe, and just make it about Cole and his mom. I think that would have been a really interesting movie and had a lot of similar creepiness and all those other things. The other pitch that I could do to you to make this movie better and help your little gimmicky twist you guys love so much, cut the opening scene altogether. Lose it. Imagine if it was gone. I feel like there'd be a lot more mystery, a lot more ambiguity. I don't know if I would have figured it out. I mean, the whole reason why I thought, is he a ghost? Is that weird? Because he was shot at the beginning of the movie, and you don't get no explanation. If that scene was gone and he just talked about a former patient and we listened to tapes later on and that patient also had more mystery to him, that I think would have been really effective. Keeping the audience more engaged and putting the pieces together. Both of those options would have made a better movie.
The first thing, no. Ugh.
Why? I mean, their scenes were the best.
That's a completely different movie.
Like, I'm clearly looking for a completely different movie, so
That's fine.
I haven't heard a good reason why no. Like, I heard a completely different movie, but so what?
I don't find that as interesting. The whole thing is Bruce Willis and the for better or for worse, what the reveal is about his character.
That is the most interesting thing about this movie?
It's the whole movie. It's the whole movie.
The most interesting thing about the movie to me is Cole learning to deal with his fear and adjusting to, instead of running from the ghost, to listen to them and help them solve their problems.
I think that
Ghost Whisperer.
That would be a completely different film, and you could make a good film about that.
That's what I want.
Your second point is interesting to me. If you got rid of that scene, you could definitely make it more of a detective situation. It might be more interesting, but I still think that the whole movie, it would be about the reveal at the end.
I feel like the movie ends in the car when Mom and Cole are hugging. She learns about his ability and they hug. They have this connection. Movie's over as far as I'm concerned. Because the journey is Cole's. The Bruce Willis journey is forced and not at all well done. His journey is he comes to his wife and he's like, "You were never second place to my job. See ya." That was not a journey. The journey is Cole's. The arc is Cole's. That is the meat of the movie. And so this other Bruce Willis stuff is extraneous.
I mean, I get it. I understand your point with cutting the first scene of the movie, but I think we need to see this movie at what it really is, which is a blockbuster movie, an American blockbuster movie.
But time out. I'm going to stop you there because it was not really, and it'd be hard for you to know this for sure, and maybe Davey can back me up in this because he's closer to my age, but it was not really billed as a blockbuster movie. It was sort of like,
it was a sleeper.
Dumped. It was a sleeper hit. It was a big surprise hit.
It
was a medium budget movie that just happened to become a big hit. It was not a big, it didn't have a lot of fanfare, didn't have a lot of advertising. It was just one of those, another dumb Bruce Willis movie that they snuck into theaters. Just this one happened to catch on. Isn't that a fair thing to say, Davey?
Yeah, no, I definitely don't think anyone anticipated it. It wasn't made as a blockbuster.
Maybe I'm getting lost in translation here, but this is it is a major American movie. It's not like an indie movie.
Definitely a wide release.
To me, it is normal that these kinds of movies over-explain themselves. So, for example, if we take like Guillermo del Toro, I really like Pan's Labyrinth. But people seem to like more the one with the fish dude.
The Shape of Water.
I thought it was a dumb movie. And to me, that was a very in-your-face, character-esque, and dumb movie. I didn't like it at all. But I do understand that this is the kind of thing that appeals to more people. One of my favorite movies of all time is from the same year, Magnolia. How many people, like regular people that, just like to go to the movies, still remember that movie today? Regular people, not people like you.
It's definitely a film fan movie.
And it's not a small movie. I mean, you have Tom Cruise on it. It is more complex. You take several times to watch it to really understand the connections and everything.
Sure. On this show, we're doing classics, and I don't think we're grading on a curve. Look at movies as they are, especially the classics, because they're supposed to stand the test of time.
And I think this one doesn't. This one, I agree with you. It doesn't. I just watched Magnolia like a couple of weeks ago, and it moved me as much as it did 20 years ago. Let's
move on to Davey's favorite segment. Not really. The T word. I think it'll be short because I don't have a lot on the T word because I actually think this movie's kind of hollow, ultimately. Like, I actually struggled with the T word there on this one. One theme I picked up was a rumination on existentialism. Life, blurring the lines between life and death. I mean, and that's obvious in terms of Ghost, but they're also, within the mise-en-scène, he had a lot of constantly had anthropological figurines or dolls included in the mise-en-scène, seemingly lifeless objects that get life from the meaning brought to them by the kids in the movie. Cole plays with war guys. The girl has a little puppet, and there's puppets throughout her room hanging up, and she has a puppet show. There's constantly this concept of lifelessness being made into life again kind of thing. You're sort of questioning, where does life begin? Where does life end? Is death real? That is one of the bigger themes that I came up with. Am I off base, guys, or do you have something else?
I think you're right about that, but I also think that what I picked up on was sort of a father-son relationship, the difficulty that he's having with his mother, the void of having a father figure. Once Bruce Willis steps in, it seems to improve that relationship. So,
Tavio, what do you got?
When I saw this movie, I was 16 and looking into meaning and everything. And I remember watching, I believe there's a part where Bruce Willis asks about the ghosts, and he says, why they don't understand that they're dead. And the kid says, they only see what they want to see. And I remember that I thought that was kind of like a metaphor to life in general, that maybe in some sense we can all be dead, only seeing the stuff that we want to see. Yeah. And it kind of blurs the lines, because I think that when you were saying, like, don't they get it that there are ghosts? This is something that I'm really involved at this point in my life. And it's very normal that people die and they don't really realize that they're dead. And maybe you yourself at some point might be dead physically or metaphorically, and you don't realize.
That would explain Davey a lot more.
Yeah, well, I was wondering how you were going to turn that into. Yeah.
The other thing that I thought of was just appreciation of life in general, because the movie seems to have thoughts about second chances. No regrets, like some of the ghosts have, whether it be Malcolm or the grandma. Make the most of life while we have it. Tavio, does that resonate with you?
Sure. I think that it is that's the way it ends, with them giving another shot at their relationship, which is a beautiful thing. Mother and child finally starting to understand how they can bridge their differences.
I'm also talking about the people that have passed on too, you know, like the grandma and Malcolm, who didn't get a chance to say who had unfinished business, as they say in ghost movies. They finally get a chance to resolve their issues in the afterlife. Suggesting, for those of us that aren't sure about the afterlife, to make the most of life while we have it. Like, you know, if I died tomorrow, I'd regret not telling Davey how much I appreciate him.
Oh, right back at you.
I appreciate both of you.
Oh, thanks, Tavio. Okay, guys, let's move on to the big showdown, and this is going to be exciting because Davey doesn't know what's coming up here. It's time for the classic movie showdown. This is our section where we have two movies go up against each other in a bracket kind of style, like the NCAA tournament. To explain it a little more and read the rules, here is my co-host, Drunk Davey.
Okay, so the seating criteria varies from bracket to bracket. Films are shown at JV-hosted screenings and need to be 15 years old or older. Voters are eligible to vote if they saw both films within a 12-month period. Voters must see both films in JV's presence, and JV is ineligible to vote unless the vote counts. You can break ties.
I do occasionally break ties. We're in the 90s bracket tonight, which is a bracket that doesn't come up that often. It'll be kind of exciting. And I'm excited because Davey doesn't know what the matchup is. I did have to tell Tavio to make sure he watches the other film. So The Sixth Sense is a 4 seed because of its big box office success and a Best Picture nominee. It's a 4 seed in the 90s bracket, which, Davey, means it goes up against a
4 would be 13.
13. Took him a second, but he eventually got it. 4 goes up against a 13. And here's the matchup, ladies and gentlemen: Sixth Sense versus The Usual Suspects. 13 seed The Usual Suspects. Speaking of movies with twists, I screened The Usual Suspects on December 23rd, 2015. So exactly 1 year before The Sixth Sense. And we did a show on it, Davey, J Money, and I, episode 32.3. So those of you that are interested, you can go back and look at that particular episode. It's time for these guys to vote, and then I will reveal what the audience voted for on December 23rd, 2016, because the audience voted ahead of time, so the winner's predetermined. Sixth Sense versus Usual Suspects. Tavio, did you rewatch Usual Suspects for tonight?
No, I didn't. I watched this a long time ago, but I did think that it won, because I think it's a more adored movie than The Sixth Sense. Yeah. It's a movie that people take it more by heart.
Sure, but do you like it better?
I didn't have the same relationship that I did with The Sixth Sense. I think that I had more fun watching it for the first time.
So you're predicting The Usual Suspects won, but it is the smaller seed for what it's worth. What would you prefer? What would you vote for if you were a voter?
I would vote for The Sixth Sense.
Okay, so that's different. You're predicting Usual Suspects, but you would have prefer The Sixth Sense to win, and The Sixth Sense is the favorite, being as the 4 seed. Davey, we reviewed The Usual Suspects, and as I recall, we had a much more mediocre review of it than I expected. Where are you between these two movies?
I like The Sixth Sense a lot better. Usual Suspects, I remember seeing it the first time and it didn't really click with me, and I think I liked it a little bit more when we watched it, but it's I don't know. I understand that people love it, but it's not ever going to be one of my favorites for whatever reason. So I'll go with The Sixth Sense, but I do think that Usual Suspects will have won.
So interesting. Both of these guys are choosing The Sixth Sense, and they're predicting The Usual Suspects would win. So let's take a look at what the winner actually is, ladies and gentlemen. Here it is. It is The Usual Suspects. You guys are right. That is the winner. You predicted the audience appropriately. It sounds like you guys, since you predicted it, are not angry about this choice.
More resigned to it. I've been hearing about The Usual Suspects ever since the stupid movie came out. Maybe it's just that I resent that for whatever reason everyone else seems to get something out of it that I don't. But
and as I said on the show, I have a lot of issues with The Usual Suspects. If I voted, I didn't wind up needing to vote for this, and I didn't break a tie. I would have chosen The Usual Suspects myself, but marginally so. Like, I have major issues with both movies, and I think there's great things about both movies, but I think The Usual Suspects I think that the performances are just a little stronger in The Usual Suspects, and that's a big thing for me. We're ready to move on. Close it out. You guys good?
Good.
Yes. Maybe you have a visit in the middle of the night that might change your mind about this movie, JP.
If I have a ghost here, or are you talking about a girl coming over?
I don't know. You figured that out. Both can be scary.
Both can be scary. Davey, any closing thoughts of your own?
No, I don't think I can top that. So,
well, guys, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I hope you like this video, and we've got a ton more. Obviously, this is the 51st time we did a classic, and we've got a lot more videos. Our next one in our 52nd set of episodes is going to be the end of September, and we're going to do yet another movie from 1942, because I watched them all last year, but Davey didn't watch any, so I'm going to make him watch yet another movie from 1942, a big one. And this is the film that Jim and I, on our 1942 in review, named as the film that should have been nominated for Best Direction of 1942. So it'll be a quality movie and a potentially quality discussion, and that'll be coming up at the end of September. Our next show, however, is this upcoming Monday. It is our Sound Off, our freeform segment, and I have to do my top 5 child performances, so films that feature great child performances. That'll be coming up on the Sound Off this Monday. In the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in. Subscribe to our channel, and this meeting of the No Name Cinema Society is adjourned.